Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we got a story that sounds so much like a Hollywood movie. You won't believe it actually happened. Buckle up, because today we're delving into the life and mysterious end of Albert Anastasia, a man who was both a kingpin and a cautionary tale in the American Mafia. Albert Anastasia was born Umberto Anastasio on September 26, 1902, in Tropea, Calabria, Italy. The Anastasio family was far from wealthy, struggling to make ends meet in a region plagued by poverty and limited opportunities. He was one of 9 children, and like many of his contemporaries, young Umberto was exposed to a life where the lines between legality and criminality were often blurred. Growing up, Anastasia was said to be quick to anger and prone to solving disputes with his fists. The violent tendencies that would later define his criminal career seemed to manifest at an early age. In search of better prospects and to escape the limiting conditions of his hometown, Anastasia immigrated to the United States in 1919. He arrived at Ellis Island, New York, following in the footsteps of his brothers who had already made the journey. The spelling of his last name was changed, allegedly accidentally, to Anastasia during the immigration process. Like many immigrants of his time, Albert found himself in a world vastly different from the one he had known in Italy. In the bustling environment of New York City, he began to acclimate to his new home. He took on various labor-intensive jobs, including working as a longshoreman on the Brooklyn waterfront, a hub of activity and also a hub of criminal enterprises. New York in the early 20th century was a place where organized crime was becoming deeply entrenched. Anastasia was introduced to a world where the rules of the old country applied in a new context. His work on the waterfront exposed him to various criminal elements involved in loan sharking, protection rackets, and union tampering. His size and propensity for violence quickly caught the eyes of local criminal bosses. In 1921, he was first arrested for murder but was acquitted due to a lack of witnesses willing to testify against him. As the 1920s progressed, Albert Anastasia's involvement in criminal activities deepened. He became associated with the likes of Joe the Boss Masseria and Charles Lucky Luciano, prominent figures in the New York underworld. His readiness to resort to violence made him a valuable asset in the brewing conflicts between rival mafia factions. Soon, Anastasia would rise through the ranks to become one of the most feared and respected figures in American organized crime, eventually earning him the nickname the Mad Hatter and the Lord High Executioner. Albert Anastasia's ascent in the criminal underworld was punctuated by his entry into what would later be known as the Gambino crime family. Initially led by Vincent Mangano, this mafia outfit was among the most powerful in the United States. Anastasia's recruitment was no accident. His proven aptitude for violence and the criminal network he had built made him an invaluable addition to the Mangano family. Anastasia worked his way up in the family's hierarchy, proving to be a fiercely loyal and effective soldier. His ability to carry out orders without question made him an ideal candidate for executing tasks of varying illegality. Anastasia soon became Vincent Mangano's underboss, second only to the boss himself. His position made him a crucial link between the rank-and-file members and the family's leadership, giving him both authority and responsibility within the organization. Anastasia's most infamous chapter came when he was heavily involved in the formation and operation of Murder Incorporated, the mafia's dedicated enforcement arm responsible for contract killings and other violent tasks. This ensemble of cold-blooded killers operated in both New York and other major American cities. Anastasia was not just a member, but a key orchestrator, often said to be the actual operational head. Albert Anastasia's career wasn't built in isolation. His rise coincided with that of other significant figures in organized crime. Perhaps the most notable was his alliance with Charles Lucky Luciano, a visionary mobster who played a pivotal role in modernizing the mafia and setting up the Commission, a sort of mafia board of directors. Anastasia was also known to have business dealings with Meyer Lansky and Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, key figures in the Jewish mob, which often collaborated with the Italian mafia. His partnership with these mobsters transcended mere business. It was instrumental in forging a multi-ethnic criminal network that extended its influence far beyond New York City. However, it was his complex relationship with Vincent Mangano and later Carlo Gambino that would come to define much of his later life. One of the most mysterious and enduring chapters in Albert Anastasia's life is the sudden disappearance of Vincent Mangano and his brother, Philip, in 1951. Vincent Mangano, the original head of what later became the Gambino crime family, was last seen alive in April of that year. He vanished without a trace, and despite extensive investigations and numerous rumors, his body was never found. His brother Philip was also reported missing around the same time, and unlike Vincent, Philip's body was eventually discovered. He had been shot to death. Mangano reportedly disapproved of Anastasia's indiscriminate violence and his ambitions, which were perceived as a threat to the stability of the family and to Mangano's own power. The relationship reached a boiling point in the early months of 1951. With the Manganos gone, Anastasia seized control of the family, rebranding and steering it in a new direction. This sequence of events led many, both inside and outside the mob, to suspect that Anastasia had orchestrated the Manganos' disappearances to eliminate his rivals and solidify his own power. Albert Anastasia's tenure as the head of the Gambino crime family was far from smooth. While he had successfully climbed to the top of the organization, maintaining his position required dealing with internal conflicts and rival factions within the family. One of his most notable challengers was Carlo Gambino, a capo regime who had served loyally under previous bosses but had ambitions of his own. On the morning of October 25, 1957, Albert Anastasia walked into the barber shop of the Park Sheraton Hotel in Manhattan, a place he was known to frequent. As he sat back for a shave, two masked gunmen burst into the shop and unloaded a volley of bullets into him. The killers left as quickly as they had arrived, blending into the bustling New York streets. Anastasia was pronounced dead at the scene, and his reign as the head of one of America's most powerful crime families came to an abrupt end. The assassination was a meticulously planned operation, and while many suspected Carlo Gambino's involvement, no one was ever charged for the murder. Gambino ascended to the leadership position soon after, rebranding the organization as the Gambino crime family. The murder remains unsolved to this day, adding yet another layer of intrigue to Anastasia's complex legacy. Albert Anastasia's assassination had profound repercussions on both the Gambino family and the larger American Mafia. For the Gambinos, the change in leadership marked a shift in both strategy and operation. Under Carlo Gambino, the family would adopt a more discreet, business-like approach to organized crime, contrasting sharply with Anastasia's overtly violent tactics. Gambino would go on to lead one of the most effective and wealthy criminal organizations in the world until his natural death in 1976. For the American Mafia at large, the killing was a chilling reminder of the dangers that came with the territory. If a man as powerful and feared as Albert Anastasia could be eliminated, no one was truly safe. The assassination underscored the fragility of power within organized crime circles and demonstrated how quickly fortunes could change. If you found this deep dive into the life of Albert Anastasia as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video, and if you haven't yet, hit subscribe for more stories that dig deep into the darker corners of history. I'll see you in the next video.